When you get married, you realize that some of the lessons that you learned while you were growing up became useful, or some not so useful. My name is Doofan Hiikyaa, the Apostle of Love, and this is 10 lessons from 10 years of marriage. Amazing! It's been 10 years since Orgem and I said, yes, I do. That beautiful morning in Boko, Benue State, Nigeria, at Christ Family Center. I will never forget, and I'm so grateful for how far God has brought us. So in these 10 lessons, you're going to see how far God has brought us and the things that I have learned personally. My husband is not here to share his view, but this is my view of the last 10 years. So in this video, I'll be talking about lesson number 1, and I've called it Training Your Mouth for Marriage. It is a lesson on communication. So I got married and I discovered that the things that I thought I knew about communication were not enough. I grew up in a family where we could air our views. It was okay to say your opinion or share your opinion without being judged. And sometimes I went overboard and I got spanked for it. Thanks to my mom of blessed memory. Well, I grew up and I discovered that I didn't like hearing a no for an answer. So it affected the way I communicated. If I really needed something or I wanted something, the fear of getting no for an answer would keep me back from expressing my thoughts or my feelings. And I got married with this in my mind. Even though I was free to express myself in my home, I got married and I couldn't really say my thoughts or share my opinions. And guess what? My husband is someone who likes a challenge. He doesn't want you to say yes to everything he says. And so I would make a demand or make a request, and when I got a no or I saw he was reluctant about it, I would let it slide. And after a while, I'll bring it up and say, this is what happens when I request or I make a demand for this and this. He said, why didn't you insist? You need to insist. And so we kept going back and forth like that for a while until I discovered that he wants me to like explain, why do you want this? Don't say I want this and just expect him to say, okay, yes. You know, he wants a challenge. And if I request for something and he says no, he wants me to push for it. So it was just crazy. And sometimes he brought friction in our marriage. But over the years, we've learned to relate better, communicate better. And I have so many stories of how our communication was just mixed up. The first few weeks after we got married, I just suddenly became really sad, and over he would ask what's wrong, and I would say nothing. I was lying because there was really something wrong. But eventually one day we're taking a walk and I noticed that my silence, my lying actually was really affecting our relationship. And so I just told him I was missing home. You would think that when you get married, your new home becomes your husband's home becomes your new home, right? I had not gotten used to it. It was going to take some time. I think in one part of my brain, I felt like it was boarding school, and after a while, I'll go back home. But this was reality, and I had to deal with it. And so I called my sister, and she encouraged me, and she told me that home is where Orgem is. I should get used to it. Some of you have heard this story before. And well, here I am. I'm used to it, far away, thousands of miles away from what I knew as home. And I'm okay with it. I've traveled to a couple countries, lived in different cities in these 10 years, and it's been amazing. Truly, home is where Orgem is. And I'm so grateful for the lessons on communication that I have learned. We need to be open and honest as much as possible. There is no room for keeping secrets or hiding your feelings. We need to be the safe place for each other to be able to express ourselves without feeling judged or without being criticized for being honest. Okay, the Bible tells us in Genesis that man and his wife, Adam and Eve, were together in the garden and they were naked and unashamed. if you have open, honest, and transparent communication in marriage, you will go a long way. You will have each other's backs. There will be no room for fear, of course, because perfect love casts out fear. So you shouldn't be afraid to share your thoughts, your fears, your opinions with each other. Okay, so be the safe place for your spouse, and feel free, let them feel free to express themselves. Yeah, so this is my lesson number 1. So many other stories, but I want to keep it short. I hope you learned something from this video. Please share, like, and subscribe to my channel. Yeah, and look forward to lesson number 2.